Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including another cable TV company shutting down. They announced plans to end service, citing the rising cost of content and saying YouTube TV could save their customers $40 a month. We'll tell you what one is shutting down, and they join a growing trend. Also, Trump, speaking of YouTube TV, wants them to make a change and bring some channels back to their lineup. We'll tell you which ones, but he's publicly getting involved in a contract dispute with YouTube TV. Lastly, an era of television is coming to an end. TiVo getting out of the DVR market. These stories and more coming up in a quick second. First though, if you want, you can learn more about all the stories I put in these videos or talk about in these videos. But check out the show notes, and in the first pinned comment, I put a link to each story I talk about there so you can read them for yourself. Come up with your own opinions. Let me know about it. You can also sign up for our free daily email newsletter where you get them all sent to your email every morning. Help you quickly find them and look them up later if there's something you wanted to share or maybe just read more about. You can find that in our show notes also. Lastly, if you like what we do, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, so they recommend our videos to more people. All right, let's dive into it. There's been a growing number of small and mid-sized cable TV partners shutting down or selling, and another one has joined the trend. Cedar Falls Utilities, CFU in Cedar Falls, Iowa, has announced in October of 2026 they will cease operations. This comes as they say the rising cost of content is making it very difficult for them. And because of all this, they're going to be raising their price $17 a month in January with it. And with all that, they say, hey, you could be saving $40 a month by going with YouTube TV. So they're going to push customers that. They're also going to be shutting down their streaming apps and more early next year ahead of the shutdown in October. But they join a growing trend of cable companies that say one of two things. For one, they can't make a profit at it. For two, very few customers. I think there was one, or still use the TV. I think there was one in Alaska that said it was like 10%, maybe around that number. Less than a quarter of all their customers still paid for TV with it. Now, yes, Cedar Falls not a huge, it's not Spectrum or Comcast shutting down, but it's a growing drumbeat of small and mid-sized cable providers getting out of television, moving away. I predict we'll see many more in the next few months and years, maybe as many as 50 smaller cable TV providers cease operation or be sold, merged, or do something else to try to stay afloat. But the pressure is increasingly growing on small cable TV providers, which will in turn put pressure on cable TV networks. As this network shuts down, all those customers are going away. Not all of them are going to rush out and get a cable TV replacement like Fubo, YouTube TV, Hulu, Sling, etc. So we'll wait and see, but does it surprise you that they say that most of their customers on their TV packages could save $40 a month by going to YouTube TV? Let me know. Speaking of YouTube TV, in our next story, President Trump has got involved. He wants Univision back on YouTube TV. Now, YouTube TV dropped it. Reportedly, they wanted to move Univision to a Spanish-only package. Univision didn't want to do that. Now they dropped them. This comes after Fubo also dropped those networks some time ago. I'm not sure those are ever coming back, to be very honest with you. But President Trump has come out with a post on Truth Social arguing that it's bad for YouTube TV not to carry those and putting pressure on YouTube TV to strike a deal with them to return the channels to YouTube TV. At this time, we'll see what happens. I think YouTube TV is increasingly trying to focus more on sports, a very small market, specifically the football and maybe a lesser extent some basketball with that. That's where they're hanging their hat. When you look at the top 100 most watched events in television, a vast majority of them are football. So it doesn't surprise me at all they're making that move. Will Univision be a part of that vision they have? We'll see with it. And it doesn't surprise me at all that they're trying to push that into a Spanish add-on for the network. We'll wait and see how that plays out. But for now, no word on YouTube or Univision even being close to a deal. An end of an era has come here in the United States. TiVo has stopped selling DVRs. The digital video recorders that allowed you to record live TV became wildly popular, TiVo being one of the early brands associated with it. has now completely removed them from sale on their website. Now trying to go even to the saved links to promote their TiVo DVRs, both for cable and for antennas. Just gets you redirected to their help page. They no longer selling them on the website. We reached out to TiVo for comment. At the time of this recording, I have not heard back from TiVo about this. But launching in 1999, the TiVo DVRs introduced a lot of very popular features that we now take for credit today, but back then were groundbreaking. Kind of reached its peak in the 2000s and has been slowly declining ever since as cable companies replace it with their own custom boxes. Streaming services now have it built in on their end, making TiVo a thing of the past. Now TiVo is pivoting. It looks like they're leaning more into they have an OS for smart TVs. I'll see how that plays out. The TV smart OS ecosystem is kind of crowded and increasingly being dominated by players like Roku, Fire TV, and Google TV, with manufacturers bailing on their own custom. Can TiVo make a dent into that? We'll see. A lot of big manufacturers still run their own, like Vizio and Samsung and others, but a growing number are embracing Fire TVs, Roku TVs, and Google TV as their operating system. Maybe TiVo can find a niche there. They also are promoting products for cars, their software for cars. We'll see how that all plays out. But TiVo DVRs, becoming a thing of the past. Anybody here own a TiVo at one point? Let me know. All right, over-the-air television's getting better for some. Nexstar just finished construction on a brand new over-the-air television tower in Washington, D.C. that will expand their reach to an additional 1.8 million people across 4 states, broadcasting WDBM's reach and expanding its local news to 700,000 new television homes will now be able to receive this that previously could not, and they predict that'll add 1.8 million people to be able to get an antenna. They're also bringing DC News Now, a local news station broadcast from Nexstar, with news focusing on the greater Washington, D.C. area. It's great to see some over-the-air TV getting love on that. If you live in D.C., good news. You may need to do a rescan, though, to get it on your TV. We got a deal of the day. Google's cut its Google TV Streamer 4K, one of the more powerful streaming players on the market for Google, down to $84.99 in a rare sale. I say it's rare, and it used to be really rare, but in the last couple months there's been a few back-to-back. That's down from $99. It's a very powerful Google TV streamer. Check it out, link in the show notes. Also today in TV history, it's been 25 years ago this week, the original CSI launched, running for 17 seasons. CSI and CBS has spawned many spin-offs and copycats and similar shows across different networks, but the original CSI launched 25 years ago this week on CBS. Any CSI fans for the original? It's shocking. It shocked me a little bit. It's been 25 years. I'm not quite ready for that. All right, Verizon has become a major player in cord cutting. Of course, they have a lot of bundle deals. You can get YouTube TV free or discounted, NFL Sunday Ticket, and with some of their service plans. And you can also get 5G home internet, which has become very popular with cord cutters looking to ditch cable TV customers and do that whole cord cutting 2.0, where you ditch not only the TV, but the internet for your cable company. Well, now there's going to be a new CEO. Verizon has announced that they will be doing a transition and a new CEO will take over. Be interested to see if his vision follows the suit in what the previous CEO had done. But the board of directors has promoted Dan Schulman, I hope I said that right, former chief executive officer of PayPal Holdings, into the role to take over as CEO for Verizon. Now, nothing major will change in the short run, but I've learned each CEO puts their stamp on how a company is run. It'll be interesting to see how Dan makes changes to Verizon. And they've become a major player in cord cutting for a variety of reasons, especially the 5G home internet. Speaking of 5G home internet, T-Mobile is, according to a report out there, going to be ending LTE 4G service. The Mobile Report got their hands on internal documents that reportedly show over the next few years, T-Mobile plans to phase out its LTE 4G network in favor of expanding its 5G network. Now, the Mobile Report has excellent track record on these things, so keep that in mind. Now, we reached out to T-Mobile at the time of this recording. They have not come back and commented on this story to us. Two things, they're figuring it out. But I find often if it's not completely true, by now I would have heard something. I don't know. Take that all with a grain of salt. That's just kind of my experience with this. But like I said, the mobile report, good experience. So this comes on the heels of 2G and 3G networks being shut down. 2G lingered all the ways until February 2025. A few things here. There's still quite a few devices that only do 4G, not 5G. Many car services, even though those come from AT&T at the time, are not 5G, they're 4G. My wife got a new minivan, and it has the hotspot and all that. It runs on 4G, even though it's a brand new minivan we just bought. By the way, really, Chrysler Pacifica minivan. Got it to make it easier for my son, who has special needs, to get in and out. And that is quite a nice minivan, by the way. A little side review there. Very impressed with that minivan. But T-Mobile shutting down his 4G network at the moment. This is still a couple years away. They'll stop, one of the big things they do first is stop accepting new accounts on it. But we'll still be years away before it fully shuts down. All right, so this raises a big question in the world of cord cutting I get all the time. What's the best streaming service for cord cutters? So we went to you, the source, and asked 1,200 of you what you thought the best, or what streaming service you use, or let me back up. What streaming player you use to help determine what's the best one. And 64.7% of you said it was a Roku they thought was the best and they use. Smart TVs came in at 35.7%. Laptops or PCs came in at 28.6% to stream movies and television shows. Fire TVs at 27.7%. Apple TV at 17.6%. Chromecast / Google TV at 8.6%. And Air TV, which is Sling TV's streaming player, which allows you to stream your antenna directly into Sling TV, actually popped up kind of high. I was surprised at 6.4%. Few things with this won't add up to 100% because many people have multiple devices and we allowed them to list all the devices they used. Does not surprise me a little bit, this number. Roku's been hovering in the 60s, from high 60s to low 60s for quite some time. It does surprise me a little bit to see PCs and laptops so high. On second thought, it doesn't really. Fire TVs, Apple TVs, Chromecasts, Google TV, all kind of lines up exactly like many of our surveys do. Been relatively consistent. It seems like Roku has cemented itself as one of the most popular streaming players on the market. Let me know, what do you think of that? Leave me a comment. I know it's kind of like the Sega versus Nintendo of my youth in the 90s. People are big fanboys of what they use. And with that, I'm sure we're going to get a lot of comments. But according to the readers, according to you, the viewers, 1,200 of you over that said Roku is the one to use the most. All right, recently Amazon has gotten full control over the James Bond movie series and creative direction for the next set of films they come. This comes as Amazon's now the owner of MGM, and all the contracts for it have expired and they've taken full control of it. Recently, last week, Amazon went and redid all the posters for James Bond movies. Interestingly, removing all guns from the James Bond posters in a move that got well noticed online at Reddit and other people. I've seen it on social media all over the place. Raising a lot of questions over what Amazon will do with the new series, but some movies had the guns airbrushed out. Others just have their posters completely changed to remove them. Now the 007 logo still has a gun in it, but for now, Amazon seems to be dramatically making changes to James Bond. We'll see how that plays out in future movies. And lastly, before I get into a few other stories, there's a battle for AM radio. There's a proposal that will require car makers to include AM radios back in the cars. A lot of newer cars are starting to remove them, especially electronic cars with that, those electrically powered cars. We'll see how it goes, but there is a growing support, and many now suspect it will pass. That AM radio will be saved by making it mandatory in cars going forward. We'll watch that closely. But AM radio, while still on the decline, is still a wildly popular way for people to get information. Heavily dominated now by news and sports and other content. But increasingly that's been moving to FM also. We'll wait and see how that all plays out. All right, a few more stories here. A Senate Democratic report finds AI could eliminate over 100 million jobs over the next few years. according to Washington Democrats. This is a report from Axio. Apologize. A report from Axio there says that this is probably going to be what happens there. We'll see what happens. I do believe that there'll be many job losses because AI. 100 million? Could it happen? I don't know. Definitely not happening anytime soon, but increasingly a lot of jobs that were long seen as safe, those office job, paper pushers and more, which were long seen as safe after manufacturing jobs went robotic and overseas, are now being replaced by AI. We'll wait and see what happens. And lastly, this one really jumped out at me. I thought it was interesting. From Live Science, a study shows that AI voices are now indistinguishable from real human voices. According to the study, many people were unable to detect what was a human voice and what was AI. I've said this before, right now is as bad as AI will ever get. It's increasingly getting better and better. It will be increasingly harder to tell AI generate images, videos, and voices going forward. And now everybody says, I can always spot AI. Maybe now, but it's going to become increasingly more and more difficult. This raises a lot of questions of regulation and disclosure and legal controls on this. It's kind of one of those things that will always be hard to enforce. We'll have to wait and see what happens. For now, that's it for today. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. Until next time, take care, be safe. I'll talk to you all again tomorrow.